You ever wonder what would it be like to be in someone's mind? Like, I mean, you could actually see what's going on in their mind, visually see what's going on in their mind. You could see the characters, the storylines, the plot twists. What would that look like for you? How do you see the landscape? What are they wearing? The scenery? What do you envision? Well, today I'm talking about one person's point of view. The costume storyline that I'm breaking out today is for the movie The Cell, directed by Tarsum Singh. So, this film was broken down into two different versions. So, of course, it just made sense that they got two different costume designers for each side. We have April Napier, who did the reality side, and we have Iko Ishioka, who did the dream side. April Napier, she's a costume designer responsible for wardrobe and films such as Lady Bird, May December, and The Covenant. So April Napier took on the task of wardrobing the reality side of this film. And as I stated, this the reality side featured very muted tone, very neutral. It was blacks, whites, beiges, browns, and like pops of blues and red. I mean, pinks and red. There's significance to those colors, and I'll explain that later. But so yeah, like was stating, like the reality side was very neutral. It almost reminded me of a black and white film. So it was just like instead of going completely black and white, they made it very muted and very dry and neutral instead of doing black and white in the literal sense. It reminded me of the black and white films that has pop of colors that shows you which character you should be paying attention to or little things that they want you to kind of think about. You ever see the movie Pleasantville where they get sucked into the black and white TV show? And then when anything of significance happened, they would start showing colors and
Oh my God.
What happened?
I'm not sure.
You're right.
start turning into colors. This is what this kind of reminded me in a sense. In a sense. The only pop of color that you really saw on this side of things was pink, which was worn by the serial killer Carl Starger, which was played by Vincent D'Onofrio, and also Catherine Dean, played by Jennifer Lopez. And I think these was to symbolize that these are the characters to pay attention to. Red and black and white film usually represent strong emotions, danger, or even a specific character. So, like I said, these are the characters they want you to pay attention to. And then, of course, like the serial killer being in the pink symbolized danger, danger, like stay away from him. Pink is a muted version of red. So I believe they didn't want to just go straight red and they kept the pink just to keep the whole color palette, the neutral, muted tone, kept it the same. So they were in pink, so they weren't in featuring red. The only time you seen red on the reality side was when they were in those latex suits or those vinyl suits to carry over into the dream world. And then also what I noticed is Jennifer Lopez character, Catherine Dean, when she was home relaxing and she was getting ready for bed, she had a red top on. So that was kind of cool because and then she ended up falling asleep and going into a dream world, which brings you back to her job where she does that for a living and she's wearing a red vinyl suits to go into a dream world. So I thought that was pretty cool. And then, but a lot outside of the neutral tones, you will see her I mean, the only time you see her in the pink was like the first scene when we first get introduced to her after she's out of the vinyl suit. But then you'll see her in like light blues, and you'll see her in blues colors, and also you also saw the victim in a light blue color. And you know that kind of blue in a film symbolizes calmness, tranquility, trust, openness, communication, serenity, and peace. Jennifer Lopez's character, Catherine Dean, I guess in a sense it represented the victim because she was kind of like timid. She seemed sweet, so and pure and innocent. Um, Another color that I noticed is like the lab coats for the psychologists. They were brown, which I thought that was different. I've never seen brown lab coats, but you know, brown is frequently used to evoke a sense of realism, and so it's pretty like a grounded reality. Like we're in the real world. We're in the real world. And so I just like to say I like to give April Napier her flowers because she doesn't get a lot of credit for designing this film. And I get it, for most people it's not exciting as um everything that was featured in the Dream World done by Iko Ishioka. And but I salute her because there was a clear story being told with her wardrobing. And you know, I even have to admit myself that I never really paid attention to the reality side of the wardrobing. And doing this, it made me have to pay attention. And she clearly was telling the story. There was a lot of Easter eggs being dropped about who is who and what was going on. And I have to salute her for that because it it made me even more excited just to watch the reality side of the film just as much as watching the dream side of the cell. Salute to you, April Napier. Now, before I get into the dream world, just let me tell you how difficult it was for me just to stick with the costume story. There's so much symbolism, there's so much like clues or just like storylines going in this movie. It tells you so much. I mean, you could tell that this was a movie where everybody got along. Like the production, the lighting, the set, the art, wardrobe, hair, makeup, everybody had a hand in creating this film. You could tell that this was a true collaboration. And I love when I see that because when you usually get a true collaboration of each department in a film, then that it creates a masterpiece. It creates artwork, you know, that will never get old. And so even watching behind the scenes making of this film, that's the sentiment that everybody, directors, everybody got along. For Tarsem Singh, there was nothing that was just too over the top. It's like you could keep pushing it and pushing it and pushing it until, you know, nothing was too much and everybody had fun making this move. And I love to see it because they have fun making it, I have fun watching it. So I like to say that. Now let's get into Iko Ishioka into the dream world. So we see Iko's costume begin on the reality side a little bit. When I say the reality side, is they're wearing the uniform to actually carry on into the dream state, which are those blood red latex one piece suits that they had to wear. To me, they look like the anatomy picture of a muscle. You know how you see what it looks like underneath your skin and all the muscle, and they have those diagrams. To me, that's what those uniforms look like. Also, if you're wondering, have I ever seen these before? You would be correct because the other film that Iko the costume designed for, which Bram Stoker's Dracula, which she won an Oscar for. It was in the beginning when the Dracula character, before he came Dracula, he was in war. That was like their armor. That was the uniform. although they're the same costume, they take on different meanings. Bram Stoker's Dracula takes more of a meaning of sacrifice, warrior. I also saw that somebody stated that a human version of a sex toy. I don't know, I guess, whatever. But in the cell, the meaning takes on, since the serial killer, the main character of this film, the serial killer is a sexual sadist. It kind of takes on that meaning in a way. So yeah, like to me, a human anatomy picture of the muscle, especially because they're going into mind. So that's what I believe it stands for. But like I said, so when you get on to the dream side, the main color story is vibrant, is full of colors. Now, because it's the serial killer, although it's full of color, it's still kind of dark. And like I said, sexual status, so the colors are vibrant, but at the same time, it's dark. Red can symbolize passion, danger, violence, or sacrifice, depending on the context of the storyline. Um, it also could have an emotional impact, amplifying the emotional intensity of a scene. So, red has a lot of meanings, and a lot of times it's deeper meanings than you suspect. Because red is one of those colors that, say, if you're on, like, fun fact, like if you're on a show or something and you're dressed in the background, you will never want to put the background in like any of the like reds or bright colors, because you don't want to bring attention to them. The background actors are supposed to just blend in, so you don't want them in anything that's like going to pop like red, because we don't want we want you to focus on the scene of the main characters, or whatever the director wants you to focus on in that moment. So the background, you wouldn't put reds. But I say all of that to say that Iko Ishioka used reds with meticulous details to the costume to showcase the emotions and importance of each character. She did the hell out of that red. Same. So thank you for tuning in to another episode of Draped in Film, where wardrobe is the plot twist. See you in the next frame. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below which costume art story would you like to see next. See you soon. Bye.